Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. Well, back up and punt continues. In the last video, I toyed with the idea of putting contactors in here on both sides, but then I got to thinking that underneath this transmission tunnel, there's actually quite a lot of room that perhaps I could put all the contactors there, and indeed, it does fit. Fits under there quite nicely. But the problem, I'm finding out today, is that where I have to run these big old fat cables from where the batteries come in to where they ended up needing to go is kind of difficult. And this one is just so showing. I put another relay in here. So what I want to do is on the ignition switch is remove those contactors and back up a little bit. Put these there in their place. I have the motor fuses and everything in their place, which is kind of better anyway, because if there's going to be a maintenance item, 99% of the time it's going to be a fuse and not a contactor. So I don't really know where I would put those. Maybe they could go back on here somewhere, but getting to all this stuff is kind of a thing. This is actually much more difficult on this little tractor than it was on my my articulating 4x4, because there was just a whole lot more room on that. This has turned into kind of a nightmare. So I'm gonna plug away on this the rest of the weekend, see what I can come up with. This kind of needs to stay here because the little wires for the potentiometer just kind of are perfect length for it. So that needs to stay there. I made up another little wiring diagram, if I can find it. There we go. If you remember from the last one, you may not have watched through because it was pretty long and I actually told you to skip on to the next part, but the way it was going to work is on the key switch, think of like your normal key in a car. You turn it on and that like turns your radio on and your headlights or whatever, but you like go into the start position and that cranks your engine. Well, what I had it previously is that you wouldn't use the start position, you'd just turn it on, and that would send 48 volts to both of the contactors for the PTO and the mower, and also the contactor for the drive motor controller. But if I need to use the EPTO, I don't necessarily want to have the contactor on for the main motor controller. So what I want to do is I'm going to use the starter. I'm going to use the start position on the starter to activate a holding circuit to do the controller for the motor, for the drive motor. So if I want to go drive around, you got to turn it on and then start it, and that'll activate a holding circuit for the control motor, or the main motor controller. Oh God, main motor contactor. But then what you end up with is a situation you need a way to turn that holding circuit off. So otherwise, if that holding circuit was on for the main motor contactor and I wanted to turn that off, I need a way to interrupt the power to that, because just turning the key off won't do it, because the way a holding circuit works is battery comes in from the 48 volt, goes through the fuse, goes to the input side of the contactor, and then if you turn this key on, then it sends 48 volts to this, activates the coil inside the contactor, pulls the contacts down, and then sends power over this way. To make a holding circuit, all you do is you tap off of that power, feed it into your relay coil, and then that just keeps it on. So whenever you let go of the key, power is coming from the 48 volt battery through the fuse, through the contactor, down this way and into the coil. So if you turn the key off, you can't turn this holding circuit off. So you need a way to interrupt that. So that, of course, you need another relay. So I've got a disconnect relay in there that is actually connected to the run, sort of like the key on circuit. So that key on circuit comes up and it powers this relay, and it'll close that, but it won't do anything because there's no power yet. So you go into the start comes up this way, and that gives power temporarily to this coil, pulls this down, And then when you take start off, now you've got power coming through this contact, going down through this, which is held closed by the run key switch through this, and it continues the circuit. Now, if you want to turn this holding circuit off, then you turn the run off. You just turn the key off, and that cuts power to this contactor, which opens that circuit right there. So that's what all that is. So I had to add another relay. And then I also want to have a 48 volt disconnect so that so that the DC to DC isn't on all the time. So I got to add that too. And that way, in that respect, there's so the run key switch, the same one that uses that. Well, there's another one that's, I guess, ignition. I don't know. It's the same thing. Whenever the key is on, this has got power. So that's going to come through there, power this. It'll pull that contactor down, and then tapping off of that same line, it comes up through this relay, and then goes up to the DC-DC converter. And then when I have the tractor off, then I'll turn the key off. It'll cut power to this. This is not a holding circuit. It'll cut power to this, and then it'll just disconnect power from the DC-DC. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I got to figure out a way to run all these big cables somewhere. And it may even involve redoing the idea of those things. As cool as it looks, and as much as I like that, that may not be feasible. I may have to run longer cables from the battery box, possibly down the battery box, and then up to over there if I end up putting the fuses over there. That may be more a better sweep of the cables, of the big battery cables, so that they can form a little bit better. Because you get these things too short and they become really, really difficult to move. They become difficult to bend. So you kind of want to keep the cables long and sweepy. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do the rest of the weekend, I suppose. I'll let you know how I get along. Well, okay. After a bunch of head scratching and a bunch of sitting in that chair right there, you can even see where I've been sitting, how long I've been sitting there, trying different things, just trying to come up with different ideas on how to do this. I think I've come up with a workable solution. Now, I'm not going to go over all the things I was trying to think about, but chief among them was serviceability, if I ever need to change a fuse or something, and accessibility to be able to do that. Serviceability, obviously, I need to have an easy way to get to the fuses. Where I had it wasn't that. Accessibility means that I need to be able to remove panels sort of easily if I need to. Not super easy, because it's not something I should ever have to do a lot, but if I need to, then I need to be able to. And the way to do that is just to have sort of longish cable runs, but you get too long cable runs and now everything's running into each other. So the only, well, when the center console is on, this part is obviously bolts to the front of that. And to get access to this, you undo the bolts in the front and then tilt this forward. And the way this cable runs down here makes that really easy. The way this one runs back that way, though, makes that really hard. So what I can do is I can just keep this tight and then take this cable off right there at that terminal, because that'll be really, really easy to get to. And as it works out, that fits there just like that, and there's no interference. And maybe, yeah, look there, plenty of room. So there's not going to be any interference or anything like that, and that's really, really great. So that'll keep it all hidden. And but then if I need to get to something, then all I got to do is just lift this panel off, and bam, there's my fuses. So this is going to work, I think. Now the next thing to do is run all the small gauge wire, and I got my wiring diagrams there to go by, and that's it. I got to put my DC-DC converter up there somewhere, probably. Yeah. All right, then I will turn you back on when I get a little bit more done. All right, guys. Well, today we made significant progress on the small wiring. Got all the wires for the contactors, for the little pre-charge circuits, 48 volts for other stuff. Got the wires for the shunt. Got the 48 volt wire for the shunt. and all that. Got going back around over to here, where I put I made a contact connector. These are Deutsch connectors. These are really, really nice. If you ever decide to do these, you got to get yourself a good crimper. You just have to. Deutsch connectors. So that way, if I ever need to take, when I need to take this off to paint it or whatever, then I can just undo that, and I don't have to worry about all those spade connectors and stuff. And then I've got two relays over here, and what else? So, and then all the wires going out here are obviously they're gonna go into the into the front cover here, and I put some Deutsch connectors on that as well. Now I'll probably come back later and put some wire covering over this just for some like abrasion or whatever. I went ahead and terminated these, and I don't know if I did it at a good length. I hope I don't regret doing that and find out that I should have terminated them 1 inch longer or something terrible. But that is that. And then up here on the bench, the other end of all those connectors is right here. Yeah, DC-DC converters right there, main contactors right there, little soft starters right there. I still need to run a power wire for this little soft start, and it'll I don't remember where it goes. It goes over here somewhere, but I'll need to look at the drawing. Anyway, that is how that is. So, right, there's probably only 3 or 4 more hours of work to do to this. I mean, it's not that late really, but I'm not going to push this. I find it's best just to kind of stop when you get to a good stopping point. I am going to go ahead and figure out where the power for this thing comes from. It comes from this little 48 volt disconnect, and that's it for this weekend. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.